Today on the YouTube channel, I'm going to be talking about my journey of when did I first meet God and how has that shaped my perspective and my journey as a whole. So, when did I first meet God? I would say, well, first let's talk about what is God. So God to me is in my culture, so I'm going to look at it from my culture, which is Hawaiian and Native American. God is the creator of everything, and we call God Keokua. So that's what I believe. And there's also Mother Earth and Father Sky, which would be Papa and Wakeo. That's why some of my tarot messages are from God, Keokua, and Mother Earth, Father Sky, Papa and Wakeo. So, as a child, my grandma, she had believed in Jesus Christ because she's Mormon, even though she was Hawaiian. She taught about the Hawaiian gods and Hawaiian culture in different schools. That was part of her job. And she practiced Hawaiian medicine, which we call la'au lapa'au. So as a child, she would talk to me about certain things. You know, it's kind of a general knowledge, especially when you're that age. Certain plants, like aloe, noni, different ones, they have different properties that can heal, like prevent scars and help with overall digestion and intestinal health. So she would teach me things like that. So I leaned more towards the Hawaiian gods, which would also be like Pele is the goddess of fire, Ku is the god of war, Lono is the god of the ocean, things like that. I leaned more towards that, and I just because I identified with being Hawaiian. I'm also Native American, like I said, so I have a relationship with the creator and spirit animals. So in Hawaiian culture, we call it Aumakua, which is your family protector, your animal, spirit animal. So yeah, from a young age, just being that my family is Hawaiian, and like I said, my grandma went around teaching at the elementary schools the Hawaiian studies. I just leaned more towards that aspect of God. I think around maybe 5, 6, so I could have been like kindergarten, maybe first grade. I had tried to go to the church up the road where my grandma went to, but then as they got more into the story of Jesus Christ and supposedly how he was born with the ghost of the Holy Spirit, you know, I didn't really like that because I felt like it wasn't a true representation. I thought at that specific time, I thought that was probably a cover up, like she had cheated and she was just saying that she was impregnated by the Holy Spirit. I felt that she committed adultery on her husband. So I spoke up about that in the church. They didn't like that. But my grandma, being that who she was, especially in the community outside of church as well, I was able to stay if I wanted to. But I mean, I already had it in my mind, like, oh, this is some type of scam or they're trying to control you or something like that. So I would go here and there. They said I could go to the adult like hearings, Because at that time when I had spoken up about it, I was in the children's, like the youths, like groups. I didn't like that. And then when we went to when I had switched and gone with my grandma to the other ones, I kind of didn't like that either. Like I kind of felt isolated, just in the sense that I'm around adults. That's one thing I kind of dealt with when I was younger. I would always be around my older siblings, and then I would always be around older adults. Like I felt like I would connect with them a lot more than my own peers. So that kind of created a gap when I would go and hang around with my peers, or just in general. Like there was some type of disconnect there that kind of followed me into adulthood. Like when I went into high school and then outside of school, like as a young adult, and becoming a man, there was like some type of like barrier. Like I didn't feel, I guess, on the same level in terms of emotional and intellectual maturity. People always said that, oh, I'm mature for my age, but I feel like that has a lot to do with just because was one of the younger kids in my family, and I was always around older people, like I said. That definitely, I think, created some problems connecting to people my own age that I had to overcome, and had to mesh with people my own age. But it also gave me a lot of wisdom, being around older people and just asking them questions, seeing how they interact, the things they do, the things they talk about. So it kind of gave me like a crystal ball. I could see into the future of, okay, when I'm older, these are the obstacles and things I have to look forward to. But going back to the gods, the Hawaiian gods, I would always talk to them. I mean, my grandma would say, just kind of talk out loud, or just talk in my head, or kind of just express myself, and I would always do that. I would always ask them for protection, to guide me, allow me to be aware of the things I need to be aware of. And it always seemed to work. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. Like, even when I was younger, when I was in situations that I just felt like I should just leave, there was like a nudge or like a gut feeling like, oh, just leave, and I always followed it. And then come to find out later, like, oh, something happened, or there was a reason for that. And I always listened to my own guidance. I felt like I was being talked to by my ancestors. We call them kupuna, and by God, and also the Hawaiian gods. So I always felt kind of divinely led. That's why as I got older, I identify with being chosen. And now that I'm a kahuna, it kind of all makes sense. Like, from a young age, I always had a deep connection to the earth and God. So I think that's what helped me. For sure, that's what helped me get through a lot of challenges. Just sitting with myself, if I couldn't talk to anyone, I was able to talk to God, and He would talk back to me and reassure me, like, oh, there's a reason for this, everything's going to be okay. I mean, it could be rock bottom or close to it, and kind of to the point of, okay, I might give up, or just, I'm done already. But just to hold steady. I don't know when whatever I'm going through is going to end, but there's a reason for it. Just focus on the positive and try to take away a lesson from the experience. So my grandma kind of taught me that too, because she lost my grandpa when I was younger, and then she was by herself for a while. So I asked her like, well, how do you stay in the right headspace, and how do you um deal with that like burden? And she would tell me, she's just like, yeah, I just always look on the positive side. And she's very religious. Like I said, she believed in Jesus, so she would always have conversations with him and kind of just know like she's serving a purpose. Kind of getting emotional, like, oh, but yeah, she's serving God's purpose, like whatever God has planned for her, she's doing it. Which at that time I fully didn't understand, but now looking back, like, yeah, for sure. Um, like she was there to see my son born. She asked me, I think when I was younger, like, oh, to promise her that I would get married before I have kids, and I did. So I got married, and she was able to see my son born. And then right after my son was born, I would say like within a year, she had passed away. So I felt like that was kind of me fulfilling my promise to her, but also to God, as to like my purpose as a leader, as an example to others. Um, yeah, I got married before I had kids. I promised her I would do that, and I kind of wanted to do it the right way. Had nothing to do with like the whole Jesus or anything like that. It's just I wanted to be an example to others, and my wife didn't work, so I was doing it like that as well, and that was kind of unique to us because the only people who were doing that were people in the military. Like, we had made friends with a lot of people in the military, so mostly all of them are doing that. That was a unique way of parenting, but yeah, that's kind of how I met God. And even though I would say I got off of the path of fully following him in terms of like always doing the right thing, I had made a lot of mistakes. I'm human. Went down the wrong path, but in my heart, I always had good intentions. I didn't do anything to anyone else unless I felt like it was deserved. I tried to justify it, how everyone tries to justify, oh, they did this to me, so no, I have the right to do this to them. That was the mentality I was in. That was like a stage, as luckily that was a stage for me. I grew out of that, just like a lot of other things. But like I said, for the most part, like my heart, my intentions were always in the right place. And I think that's what helped me continue to have the relationship with God. Because even while I would be doing things like that, I would just I would feel like I was in the right. So I didn't necessarily feel like I was sinning or doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing. And then if it was something I wasn't supposed to be doing and I knew, I just wouldn't do it. Like, there would be like my soul. So I think not everyone has a soul just because of the choices they make. Like, I think everyone starts out with a soul, and then the more they kind of eat away at it, chip away at it, so they're doing things they know they shouldn't be doing, but they're doing it anyway. I think every time you make choices like that, your soul, a piece of your soul is taken from you. So, I mean, I'm not gonna say I never did that. I've done that, but the amount of times that I took away compared to the amount of times that I put in is less. So my soul is intact now. We call that in Hawaiian mana. Well, mana is like kind of like your essence, your energy, your soul energy, your power. Damn, I'm trying to remember like what it. Oh yeah, I guess K mana. Yeah, so there's three ways that in Hawaiian you can gain mana, which is through sex, which is through war, and which is through deeds. So like I said, like doing what your soul is telling you to do, that's how you gain mana. And then you lose mana by going against what your soul is telling you to do, or you're just, let's say you lose a war, like a battle, you basically lost your power to the other person if you lived. A lot of times in wars with like ancient Hawaii, you don't live, so it's you kind of lose your soul, but now it's more of in a energetic way. So yeah, that's why I said like I feel at peace now, you know, just because I'm karma. A lot of people will call it karma, my karma or dharma, which is good karma. I'm going through my dharma now just because I paid all my dues in my my bad karma. I paid all my bad karmic debts. So yeah, now I'm entering, or for a while I've been entering into the stage of dharma, good karma. That's how it's helped me. And then just knowing a general sense of protection, like God is protecting me, my ancestors are protecting me. So I feel kind of untouchable. I mean, I've always been kind of that guy too, like untouchable. But now it's more of a like a good untouchable, like I'm protected. I'm standing more in my purpose, my role on this planet, what God has me doing. I consider myself an example, you know, of how you can kind of change your life around. Motivational speaker. That's why I went into being a coach, like a life coach and personal trainer, things like that. Just to raise people up, their vibration, give them inspiration to go after what they want. Just like I've done, I've had dreams when I was a child, and a lot of them I've been able to do in terms of like traveling, being all over the world, places. And then just the types of jobs I had as well too. I was able to do the types of jobs I wanted, you know, and still going forward, having more dreams of what I want to do and going towards them. But yeah, that's kind of my story of God and how He's helped me through pretty much everything. On creating a secure attachment, I feel more so now than ever before securely attached to God, that if I take a leap of faith, He will be there kind of no matter what. It's just because He's always been there. Like He's never put me in a situation where I didn't learn a valuable lesson, or I didn't come out on top in some way in the end. So I'm super grateful for that. Like I'm really grateful for that. That's why I have full trust and faith that I'm being led in the direction that I'm supposed to be. So that's why I choose to do these videos. You know, it's hopefully it's inspirational. It helps you on your path. I know when I was younger, I think when I was in high school, like YouTube just came out, or it might have just like was getting more popular. So I didn't really have the internet, like in terms of like this, to connect with people and hear some of the similar stories that they had during that time. So during those periods of time, it was kind of rough for me to get the support I needed, because the way I grew up, I didn't have that type of support. So this type of interaction, like YouTube channels or even like Facebook groups, that helped a lot, just to see that other people were going through similar situations. You know, as a man, you're not necessarily going out and saying like, oh, these are all the problems I have, and complaining about it and things like that. You know, at least I was raised to kind of be strong and kind of be keep my emotions in check, and may not even talk a lot. So as I got older, I learned to express myself a lot more, speak, and even just in creative ventures too as well, you know, like paint, dance, draw, just whatever, just express my emotions and my energy just however I want to, is very liberating. So I hope you got something from this video. As always, subscribe, like, comment, and be on the lookout for more content as well. So yeah.